What's good, y'all? Um, I just wanted to speak on this because it's been on my mind, and this is just for my people, man. Why do we always have to show our wealth? It's like when we get something, we have to show that we got it, and we have to prove that we got money by basically wearing it. And it's not a good approach because I was really reflecting on it one day, and it's like, well, what made me really reflect on it was when I found out. I guess the average middle class black person, when they get a car, they buy like a Benz or something like that. And my thing with that is that if you middle class, that means you probably making around 50, $60,000. And so now you buying a car that's worth about the same amount of money as your salary. So now if you lose your job, how are you about to pay off this car? Because it's going to be a whole year worth of salary that you spending to buy this car. And so it just made me reflect on like how financially irresponsible we are, and granted, like I always say, half of Americans are financially irresponsible. So it's half of Americans. But I think it's the fact that, which is sad, is that we even worse. It's probably like 75, maybe more percent of us that's like financially illiterate, that's bad with finances and bad with money. And it's just the fact that we really just don't understand it. And I was talking to my friend the other day, and it's the fact that like even people who are understand finance to some degree in the black community, most of the time they philosophy on money is like just saving money and putting in a savings account. So if your whole idea of making like saving your money is just putting in a savings account, that's not helping you. Because at the end of the day, like I've mentioned before, is that you losing money putting in a savings account because it's going down in value, because inflation is like usually 2% a year, and you get what, 0.01% interest when you put in a savings account. Even if you put in like a CD or something, what you get like maybe 2% on that. So now your money either stagnant or is losing value. And you know what they doing with your money in the bank? They just invest in it. So why not invest your own money, build your own wealth, and have a more of a comfort when you retire? And what I really want to get into today is, if you plan on having kids, make sure that you saving money for them. That's the whole thing. Reason I wanted to make this is investing in your future and your kids' future. And I was saying, was like, it's just sad because people have kids, and they don't plan anything for their kids financially until it comes head on with them. So, if you have a kid, in like 20 years from now, they probably gonna want to go to college. So if you know your kid, if you want your kid to be successful, you know that your kid, if you have faith in your kid to be successful, you should think, hey, maybe my kid gonna go to college in like about 20 years from now. Let me start saving. Let me make an account for them. I'm not even saying you have to put a ridiculous amount, but put something, a few $1,000s, maybe enough to pay their first year tuition, something, just for in case that happens, because if you have a successful kid, they're going to want to try to go to school, or they going to want to do something where they need money to fund whatever they're trying to do. Even if they get a certification, if they take some courses on how to invest, they want to start a business, whatever they want to do, they going to need some financial backing to do that. And so that's my whole thing, is like we spend all our extra money trying to show the money we have and stuff like that. We buying Benzes, we buying these nice high end clothes, we buying all this stuff, and it's like, why don't you use that money and put it into your kids? Take that money that you was gonna spend on that Benz, buy a nice regular car like a Camry. Even if you want to get a little fancy, buy an Accord, a Nissan Maxima or something nice, or something manageable. Even maybe like the small Benz. The one that's like maybe 30,000, not the one that's 50, 60,000. Either way, buy something that you can really afford and manage. Honestly, you should only be buying a car you can afford to pretty much pay cash. But I'm not going to get into that, and I'm not going to go too hard on that. But just buy something you can afford. Buy something more affordable and put that extra money into your kids' college fund, or just a fund for them to use when they become adults, that they can either use for college or use to start a business or use to invest in something. Like, use that money for something better. And so what you can do is either put it in, like, them funds that they have for people to use, or you can just put it into you can start your own investment account for them, put the money in there for them, put $100 a month or something, whatever you can afford, and just let that money grow. Because if you put in some good companies, some ETFs, or Apple, Google, any of those companies, they're going to grow at like a usually 10% or more a year. So by the time they grown and you putting, $100 in a month, after like 10 years, it was that 10,000 times 20 years. It's like 20,000 plus the interest. So it'll probably be around $50,000 with interest and everything by the time they're ready to go to school or whatever they decide to do. So I'm just saying, something that simple. You could get more complicated, more complex than that. I'm just giving simple gems and game on stuff you can do for your future generation of kids, and to give them a good foundation so that when they are adults, they have some footing, you know. Because I was talking to my brother the other day about like my college experience, and basically the second year my parents didn't get approved for the loan, and I wasn't really getting too much help taking out a loan with my dad and stuff. So I had to take out my own loan, and I had to figure out how to pay for my own tuition my second year. And me figuring that out on my own made me figure out how the tuition was set up, how it was broken down, what I need to do moving forward to like keep myself out as much debt as possible. I ended up like, yeah, I realized that housing was half my tuition. So then I took out I realized the next year, like moving forward, the next few years that had school, I I realized, hey, it's cheaper for me to get my own apartment, so I got my own apartment. I paid like a third of my tuition. I worked with my parents, like, hey, can y'all at least try to help me with like some of my tuition, and I'll pay the rest, that do whatever, and I'll pay my rent and stuff. And so I had to go through that whole process of figuring that out. And that's my whole thing, is like, if you have a good system set up in place in general before your kids get to that age, you can be like, all right, here's some money. You don't have to worry about trying to work a job or two while you in school. You can focus straight on school. You can, do what you want to do, or you can focus on your business. You can focus on this. You don't have to take away from whatever they trying to focus on to be great in. You can give them a foundation for that because they have the financial footing, versus, like when I was in school, I had to work a job. I had to work summer jobs. I had to work all the extra times when I'm not in school to try to help make up for the money I needed to pay for tuition, because I had to pretty much pay for most of the stuff on my own. And so I don't want my kids having to deal with trying to work and go to school, because that's a lot, especially depending on what they major is. Because like, I was majoring in engineering, and so it was hard trying to balance that and try to get through engineering school and stuff like that. That was a process. And I don't want my kids having to deal with that, and I don't want them having to just worry about stuff like that in general. I just want them to have to focus on them being their best self, instead of trying to worry about how can I help take a burden off my family, how can I make this stuff easier for myself and my family and stuff like that. I don't want them to have to deal with stuff like that, the stuff I had to deal with going to school and stuff like that. So that's all. I just say this to say, man, just do what you can to be more financially responsible, especially if you have kids, because they're going to need your help at some point financially. And if you blowing all your money, and then when they get to college, you're like, well, what you want me to do? I ain't got no money. It's like, well, you could have had some money for your kids, but you spent it all. I'm sorry, I just had to vent today, because it's been bothering me a lot lately. I see people trying to flex on social media and just in person and try to act like they doing all these big things, but like, are you taking care of your family though? That's the most important thing. Are you taking care of your family, man? But hey, man, like I said, I'm always rooting for y'all, man. I just want y'all to be great. That's why I made this video, to give y'all some gems to be better, man. So like I always say, man, if nobody else rooting for you, I'm rooting for you, man. Sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's black. It's one love out here. Y'all be great.